Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. I'm already laughing because we have some LeBron creators that are clamoring for the Lakers to do something to get LeBron some type of trade. And many of them have alluded to this sabotage, this internal sabotage that is taking place within the Lakers organization. And I personally think it's hilarious, right? I personally think it's hilarious. And when I saw this story today, it immediately made me think of like, okay, this is where these guys are getting this from, right? So there's kind of this thought process by some LeBron fans who believe that Rob Pelinka, who's Kobe Bryant's former agent, is sabotaging LeBron James by not putting the pieces around him to succeed, right? They really believe this. Regardless of the fact that he's made a whole bunch of trades that they themselves have celebrated at the trade deadline or during the offseason. Oh, we got this, we got that. They was up there twerking it up, pouring honey all over each other, hollering, screaming, running through doors, kicking, like just knocking people over, celebrating. Oh, we're going to do it this year. We're going to do it this year. We're going to do it this year. But they forgot about all of that. And now when the news is surfacing that the Lakers could potentially not make any major blockbuster moves by the trade deadline, LeBron fans are basically out here insinuating that Rob Pelinka is sabotaging him to preserve the legacy of his former friend and client, Kobe Bryant. And I actually got this news from a NBA Central post that I saw, this morning, which also incidentally linked to a New York Times article, but I just want to read what the post had to say. So let me get into what this post had to say on Twitter. Okay, so the post says, the Lakers are more likely to stand pat or make a half-measure trade rather than go all in on a big move. The sense around the league when talking to rival scouts and front office personnel is that standing pat or making a half-measure trade, likely 1 or 2 second-round picks, is more likely than the Lakers going all in and trading both of their future first-round picks that can be moved. That's dependent, of course, on the available players, asking prices, and team's performance through the deadline. And then, of course, some Laker fans, some LeBron fans reacted to. I want to read one comment. One guy says, "Y'all keep wasting LeBron, and it makes me sick." There's another picture of, only a LeBron fan can do this, with a picture of LeBron trying to do something to Rob Pelinka. Only a LeBron fans will post something like this. Really? Y'all really believe that Rob Pelinka is out here sabotaging LeBron James by not putting the pieces that he wants around him? Really? Really? Do we have to go through the gambit of players that have been in LA since LeBron has been there? Do we have to? I mean, do we have to really break down the number of players? We just list some of them. Andre Drummond, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Rui Hachimura. I think they drafted Austin Reeves. They got Dalton Connect. They made all of these different acquisitions for the Lakers. And the one that really got me looking at y'all sideways is that they drafted Bronny James. Like, I don't know how much more of a supporter you have to be of LeBron James than to draft Bronny James, when most people believe that the only reason Bronny's in the NBA is because of his father. So the Lakers drafted him. So I'm lost. They did something. Rob Pelinka and these guys did something that was supposedly there to elevate LeBron's legacy. Look, this is ridiculous. And I think that what some of these guys are realizing is the reality of the Lakers. Yes, yesterday they came off a win against the Washington Wizards, who are nobodies, right? Nothing to celebrate, nothing worth even mentioning. And they're going to be playing some pretty decent teams moving forward. They got the Celtics next. They got the Warriors next, who've been in a free fall. They have the Hornets. Then they have the Sixers, the Wizards again. Then they have the Knicks, the Clippers again, the Warriors, the Pacers. So they have some decent teams that they're going to be playing. But let me tell you why some of these people are really panicking. Let's look at some of the Lakers' team stats. Their defensive rating, out of the 30 teams, the Lakers are the 23rd ranked defense in the NBA. Offense, they're 13th. And when you look at these numbers pretty much signify that this is a middle-of-the-pack team, or in other words, they're not very good. That's the first thing. The second thing we have to address is this ridiculous notion that Rob Pelinka and these guys aren't doing enough. First of all, one of the biggest knocks on the Lakers was their inactivity or their inability to land a big-name player this offseason. The question becomes, who were these big-name players? There were only a few players that I can think of. There was DeMar DeRozan. There was Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was the major name in this offseason. And Klay Thompson saw what the Lakers had and said, no, I'm going to go play with the Dallas Mavericks. So how is that Rob Pelinka's fault if Klay Thompson decides to turn down the dysfunction of the Lakers? And incidentally, the Lakers actually have a better record than the Mavs. Now, granted, the Mavs have dealt with some injuries of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but you understand the point that I'm trying to make. He turned them down. And then DeMar DeRozan was the other guy. Did you guys believe that DeMar DeRozan was going to be the piece to put you guys over the top? That's the first thing. Now, I know there's some names that have been mentioned that they could potentially try to go after. The only notable guy I'm hearing about that seems to be in limbo right now is Jimmy Butler. And of all of the teams that I've heard that he could potentially go to, the Lakers are not one of them. So these guys talking about Rob Pelinka sabotaging LeBron. In what way? Who's there? Who's out there? Who's out there? LeBron refuses to leave the team. So what are the pieces that he have left? Is he going to trade away Anthony Davis? Like, I'm lost. What is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? Where is the sabotage here? Like, what are we doing here? Next thing you're going to say, Rob Pelinka got the Bigfoot as his working as his secretary. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? What are we actually doing with this story? Like, what does any of this actually mean in reality? But this is what they're trying to peddle this now. Oh, Rob Pelinka is out here against the Lakers. Rob Donald. Wow. Let's get into today's topic. Okay. So I came across a video today, an article rather, from Basketball Network, and I thought that it was a recent story, but as I dug a little deeper, I saw that it was actually a resurfaced clip from a 2001, 2001, a 2023 interview from Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, where he was speaking to NBA legend and top 75 player Gary Payton. And I guess that they were talking about everything that has to do with the NBA, and I'm sure the history of the NBA. And then it gets to a segment in the interview where I guess they get into this ridiculous LeBron James and Michael Jordan comparison. And the question I'm assuming was centered around who's a better player, right? Who's the better basketball player? So then Gary Payton then begins to respond and say that he believes that LeBron James is the better all-around player, right? And they're two different type of players, but overall, he's the better all-around NBA player. So what we want to do is we're going to play this audio for you. It's only about a 30 or 40-second clip thereabout. So we're going to play that audio for you, and then we're going to come back and really react and really get into what Gary Payton was talking about here. Take a listen to what Gary Payton had to say here.
No. Two different basketball players. Jordan was a guy who he's going to make big shots. He's going to take the ball every time and shoot it every time he has to. I think LeBron is an all-around basketball player. If you ask me who's the better all-around basketball player, LeBron James by far. He does everything. You know what I'm saying? He passed the ball better than Jordan. He can dribble it, I think, a little bit better than Jordan. Shooting-wise, I don't think so. Rebounding, I think he did, but Jordan did rebound. But I think they're two different basketball players. And you can't just say it. Two different basketball players.
So you heard what Gary Payton had to say. What are my thoughts about this? You can look at this thing from a number of vantage points. You can look at it from a statistical vantage point, and you can look at it from a visual, from an optic standpoint, which basically means that we can kind of evaluate what he's saying through stats, or we can use our eyeballs to evaluate what we saw and then come to the conclusion. Because like Kenny Smith says, there are three types of lies. They're lies, damn lies, and stats. Okay? When people say LeBron is the better all-around player, they're obviously referring to his career average, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, LeBron's career numbers are so that's the playoffs. So he's a 27 point per game scorer. He averages 1.5 steals per game. He averages 7.4 assists per game. He averages 7.5 rebounds per game. He's a 73% free throw shooter, 34.8, let's say 35% three-point shooter, and a 50.6%, let's say 51, 50, whatever, 50% shooter from the field. So when you look at these numbers, you're like, well, man, these are fantastic numbers. And they are fantastic numbers, but does it really tell us who's the best all-around player? I'll give you guys another player here. Let me read off his career stats for you guys. Let's see if you guys can figure out who it is. He averaged 24 points per game, 1.7 steals, 6.3 assists, 10 rebounds a game, 88% free throw shooter, 37.6% three-point shooter, 49.5%, a 49.6% shooter from the field, and play 38 minutes a game. Whose numbers do you think that those numbers are? Those numbers are Larry Bird's numbers. If you look at Larry Bird's numbers in comparison to LeBron James's numbers, you could make a succinct argument that Larry Bird is a better all-around player just by the numbers. Could LeBron score the ball a little bit better? Absolutely. But there were years where Larry Bird averaged 30 points a game. Could LeBron steal the ball better than Larry Bird? Can Larry Bird steal more than LeBron? Yes, he can. Larry Bird averaged 1.7 steals per game. And, LeBron's career high in steals in a season is 2.2. Larry Bird is what? 2. So you have that. Larry Bird has had seasons where he averages 7.6 assists per game. LeBron had the 10 assists per game season. But Larry Bird has averaged 10 rebounds a game. And there are seasons where he averaged 11 rebounds a game. And him and LeBron play the same position. But where the all-around comes is when you now start looking at the other percentages, like free throw shooting. He's an 88.6% free throw shooter. He's a 37.6% three-point shooter. And he shoots roughly 50% from the field. And in many years, he shot over 52%. So if you look at the numbers across the board, you can also make an argument that Larry Bird is a better all-around player. But in the case of Larry Bird, LeBron being a better all-around player than Michael Jordan, I think the number he is alluding to are LeBron's assists and LeBron's rebounds. But there's something fundamental that we need to take into account here. LeBron James is 6'9". He has a 3-inch height advantage over MJ. For the small forward position, that's generally the height you need to be. You need to be around 6'7" to be 6'9". That's really like a small forward height. So LeBron has a height advantage that is cooked into the numbers when you look at his rebounds. And one could make an argument that he's not really a great rebounder given his size and given his position. If you look at MJ's rebounds for his career, MJ averages 6.2 rebounds as a guard, as a two guard. 6.2 with 5.3 assists. But there's more to it than just that. You got to look at the other things involved as well. Let's look at Jordan's all-around numbers. Jordan averages 30 points per game for his career. That's the highest in NBA history. He averages 2.3 steals per game. He averages 5.3 assists, but there's seasons where Jordan has averaged, hear these numbers. There's seasons when Jordan has averaged 32 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. So there's seasons where Jordan has put up Larry Bird type all-around numbers, LeBron type all-around numbers. He's averaged 6.2 rebounds. He's an 83% free throw shooter. LeBron shoots a higher three-point shooting percentage than Jordan overall, although Jordan has had seasons where he shot pretty well from the three-point line, like over 42%, 50%. And Jordan shoots 49% from the field, 0.7. So basically a 50% shooter, same as LeBron. But there's one aspect you're not taking into account: defense. Defense. There are two sides of the basketball. And if you account for the defensive side of the ball, where Jordan dominated, while dominating on the offensive side of the floor, Jordan is the best, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of many, the best two-way player to ever play basketball. So if Jordan is the best two-way player ever, he is a better all-around player. He is. Because those 2 assists that LeBron has over Jordan, how do we account for those 9 all-first defensive teams that had Defensive Player of the Year? How do we account for that? How do we account for that? Because the defense that Jordan played had a significant impact on the role of the success that his team has. It also speaks to Jordan's mentality to defend at a high level for so long. Even in LeBron's prime, he's made 6 all NBA defensive teams, 5 first, 1 second. So I understand it from a statistical standpoint, but people that evaluate the game by also looking at the game, there are people out there that could also make an argument that Michael Jordan is a better all-around basketball player. You can make that argument succinctly. This is an interesting one. Okay, now, as you guys know, the All-Star Weekend is quickly approaching, and most of us have absolutely zero interest in it. And that's totally understandable. The last time we witnessed an All-Star game, the NBA players had a game where they scored around 400 points. 400 points in a basketball game. 400 points. It was an absolute disgrace. A total disgrace, total waste of time. One of the reasons why these two are the lowest rated All-Star weekends ever. I mean, it was that bad. People were criticizing all over and now people are trying to say, no, the NBA is doing well because, hey, you know what? It's doing well globally. You have other markets like China and other places where they're consuming the game well and all that. That's fantastic. But last time I checked, the companies that are dishing out these multi-billion-dollar a year TV deals are domestic companies like ESPN, Amazon, and others. So we can point to those numbers. That's not where the revenue is coming from, right? So why we even bring them up is actually irrelevant to me. It doesn't pay any bills. It may be a cosmetic stat, but it really doesn't pay the bills. So you have that going on over there as well. So what happened? One of the most vocal people against this current a crop of NBA players and the all-star games that they've been putting forward is Stephen A. Smith. He's been voicing his opinions quite clearly on how he's totally disinterested in what the NBA has going on right now with the all-star weekends. He thinks it's an absolute disgrace. So earlier this week, he made his views 100% crystal clear. Then what happened? Yesterday, they had a show where they brought on Shannon Sharpe. And they were actually going over some of Stephen A. Smith's earlier comments about the all-star weekend. And then during the segment in which they had Shannon Sharpe, Shannon Sharpe goes first. All right. And then Stephen A. Smith gets the mic. And as he's talking, he then begins to confront Shannon about the role LeBron has played in destroying the NBA and All-Star Weekend. And Shannon Sharpe could literally say nothing because he knew that every single thing that Stephen A. Smith was saying was 100% on the money. So what we want to do is I want to play this exchange for you guys now, and I'm going to come back and really react to it. Take a listen to what these guys had to say here.
You know, sometimes, Stephen A., things just run its course. The dunk contest was great when the best players were entering in it. The Michael Jordans, the Dominique Wilkins, those guys, the Dr. J's, Kobe's. I don't know these guys. These guys are way, way down on the totem pole. You've got to bring guys from the G League. Now, the dunk contest, Stephen A., when you and I were growing up, you covered the league, the dunk contest closed it. Now the three-point competition closes the ceremony. That should tell you everything you need to know. So you keep moving it around. What you need to do is move it out. It's run its course. What else are you going to do? Have a guy jump over the Empire State Building? There's nothing. I mean, the creativity is not there anymore. Everybody uses props. You got to bring somebody out the stands. You don't jump over a chair. You jump over Castanet. You do this. It's time out. We can find something else. Hey, I like the thing where they throw the ball through the hoop and they run down and lay it up, shoot a three. I like everything else other than the dunk contest. Stephen A., I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm done with it. None of the great. Now, if you tell me Ja Morant, you tell me Ant-Man, you tell me Zion, okay, sign your boy up. Okay, Stephen A., I'm right there. As a matter of fact, I'm paying to get me a ticket because I want to be front row because you got some of the great dunkers in the NBA currently in the dunk competition. But without that, it's time to let it go.
Shannon, I don't know if you have seen my comments about NBA All-Star Weekend, but I'm going to go deep here. It's an absolute travesty. I wouldn't give a damn if the NBA canceled the All-Star Weekend festivities.
Dang.
It's that bad. And these players, it's unconscionable, and I don't give a damn how they feel about it. I mean, I got a lot of love for a lot of players. I'm not talking about all. I'm not talking about most. But some of them should be ashamed of their damn selves with how they have allowed this event
They ruined it.
tarnished. Shannon Sharpe, they ruined it. They ruined it. Shannon Sharpe, do you know that Jaylen Brown participating last year in the slam dunk contest was the first All-Star to participate in the slam dunk contest since DeAndre Jordan in 2017? Michael Jordan did it 3 times. Kobe Bryant did it. Vince Carter did it. Tracy McGrady did it, okay? And your man, your GOAT, LeBron James never has. He said he had nothing to prove. It wasn't about that. It was about carrying on the tradition. Since he didn't prioritize it, just like Patrick Beverly said with him going and with them going into the bubble, we all gonna do what LeBron James does. We know he's the leader. Let's call it what it is. And sure enough, he never chose to participate. He wanted to use layup lines during pre-games to do dunks, forcing or compelling folks to clamor for him to do All-Star Weekend slam dunk contest and never once participated in his career. Nobody expects him to do it now at age 40. But damn, it took 22 years in the league. You were around and never participated in it once. Don't get me started with the All-Star Weekend. It's an absolute travesty. Yo, Shannon, you are looking at your brother, Stephen A., who called the league office to tell them how I feel.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. What are my thoughts on this? I think Stephen A. Smith makes a fantastic point, and I'm going to tell you why it's true, what he's saying. The reason I know what Stephen A. Smith is saying is true about the role that LeBron has played in destroying the All-Star Weekend and the NBA in general was because of the recent news that we just got that they reacted to about a potential deal that LeBron, Maverick Carter, and these guys are working on by trying to create a rival league. Okay? And what Stephen A. Smith spoke about on television was essentially that these guys are working to put together this rival league because there may be a possibility that LeBron may not end up being a team owner. And therefore, if I'm not going to be a team owner, I'm going to create a league that's going to compete against the NBA. I want you guys to follow this properly, right? I want you guys to follow this properly. So there's already precedent for it. There's already precedent for it. Let's evaluate the comments that he actually made to Shannon Sharpe in terms of LeBron's refusal to participate in the slam dunk contest. That's true. Now, the reason LeBron didn't participate in the slam dunk contest was because LeBron wasn't voted into the All-Star game as a rookie. A lot of twerking ass LeBron fans don't even know that. When LeBron was a rookie, he was not an All-Star. And because LeBron wasn't voted or found a way to be engineered on the All-Star team, whatever, LeBron held it against the NBA. And his way of holding it against the NBA was he was not going to participate in the slam dunk contest as a way to pay them back for not ensuring that he made the All-Star team as a rookie. He didn't make the All-Star team as a rookie. That was something that really bothered him, but he didn't make the All-Star team. And then you look at the role that LeBron has played over the last 2 All-Star games, and Stephen A. Smith alluded to this. I didn't make this point. He did. He said that LeBron basically gave the players, after Larry Bird and these guys came in there and talked to them and like, look, man, you guys are embarrassing us. Put forth more effort. This is a total disgrace what you guys are doing. He said LeBron essentially gave a side eye to the rest of the players, like, we're going to go out here and mail it in. And essentially, that's what they did. They went out there, mailed it in, and they put forth a garbage game. And he said that LeBron was the one that influenced them to do so. So when you say something like this to a LeBron James advocate like Shannon Sharpe, one then begins to think, if this is true and there's precedent for this to being true, how can you then turn around and say that, you know what, given all of these realities, I still believe this guy is the GOAT of the sport? How is this even possible? Let's look at it from a comparison standpoint. If we're looking at LeBron James and the impact he had on the NBA versus Michael Jordan and the impact that he had on the NBA. Jordan's impact was positive. LeBron's impact has been negative. He's been pro player. That has ruined the NBA. Player empowerment has ruined the NBA. There's no question about it. And when you have a commissioner that's not stern, no pun intended, and firm in his positions, you get walked all over. NBA empowerment has helped erode the fabric of the NBA. But if you look at Jordan, he helped elevate the NBA and take it into a stratosphere that it hasn't seen since. Now, you may look at the overall exposure of the game and the interest of the game from a macro standpoint, but there's no single player since Jordan played in the NBA that's been able to move the needle the way that he did. There is none. Not Kobe, not LeBron, not nobody. Not nobody. And really, folks, it ain't even close. Because had Jordan played in today's NBA, think about this. If we could lift the 90s, airdrop the 90s into this era with the social media, the NBA would be bigger than the NFL. It would be bigger than the NFL. Driven by one guy and the era and the style that they played. So Stephen A. Smith saying this to shit, he knows this. He knows that. I don't think Shannon Sharpe believes LeBron's the GOAT. I think he's doing it. I think he's saying it. He knows he's being disingenuous, but I don't think he believes it because there's no succinct argument for it. The only reason I believe Shannon would say that is because he likes LeBron. But beyond that, there is no argument. Do you know how I know this? Because, excuse me, we recently did a live not too long ago. We had some LeBron fans, and I posed this question to them, and I'm going to pose this question to the LeBron fans in the audience watching this now. And this is the question that I asked them. And if you're ever going to argue against a LeBron fan, ask him this question. There's so many questions you can ask a LeBron fan. If you want to neutralize a LeBron fan in an argument, just ask him this first question. What are we supposed to do with all the losing? You won the argument. What are we supposed to do with all the losing? You've won the argument. The argument is over. There is no comeback for that. But here's something else. Here's another way to neutralize these guys when they start pouring honey all over each other. You can say this to them simply. If you're telling me that LeBron James is the GOAT, the question becomes, what year in LeBron's career did he pass Michael Jordan? What year did LeBron become the GOAT? Pose this question to them. And watch the frozen look on their faces. We did this live. Do you know the years that came up? 2016 and 2020. In 2016, LeBron won his third championship, which is equivalent to Jordan's first three-peat. So how the hell could LeBron have passed Jordan at 2016 when Jordan had 2 three-peats and the second half of his three-peats happened? Then they quickly realized that didn't work. Then they went to 2020. I said, really? The Orlando bubble is when he passed my... Are we even being serious right now? There is no answer. The fact of the matter is LeBron fans just felt good about themselves. They were sitting there watching some LeBron highlights, beating their meat, hollering and screaming in the corner, and then they just all stood up and said, LeBron the GOAT, LeBron the GOAT, LeBron the GOAT, LeBron the GOAT. They all stood up. After LeBron said, I feel like that made me... You can feel whatever you want to feel. Reality is reality. You can feel what you want to feel. The facts are the fact. You cannot be serious telling me after that made me. How? What are you even discussing? What are you talking about? You were so far behind MJ, it was laughable. Even in 2016, Jordan's accomplishments were way more stellar. He still had more finals MVPs, had more regular season MVPs, had more all-defensive selection, first team, had a defensive player of the year, had the highest regular season scoring average, had the highest playoff scoring average. What are we even talking about? What are we talking about? Led the league in steals 3 times. What are we talking about? LeBron has led the league in categories, 2 times? in steals and scoring once and assists 2 times. Jordan has led the league in categories. How many? We can't even count. We can't even count. What are we talking about? This is a stupid, silly argument. So if a LeBron fan asks you, LeBron fan, ask him what year. What's the year? There is no year. If it's 2016, laugh him out the room. Laugh him out the room. You cannot be serious. I hate to put my goon down on you with this topic, but we got to do what we got to do. Let's stop the madness. You cannot bring me 2016 because Jordan already did that with his first 3-peat. And let me say it once more for your stinking asses. Michael Jordan has 2 3-peats. I'll begin to take you seriously when LeBron rings off 1.